Hello my friends, and welcome to a brand new series of D&D Daily to go along with the brand new set. This series is going to be called Deep Builds. Here are the rules. Rule number 1, 2024 Player's Handbook only. I've been feeling like D&D is a pretty bloated game. I actually like going down to something simpler, the newest thing, and taking that as our base and building off of it. So that's what I'm going to focus on with these builds. And also, they're brand new. A lot of people may be entering in. These are builds that they can do without having all that extra knowledge that comes before. Rule number 2 is I'm going to do one of these deep builds for each subclass in the new Player's Handbook. How we're going to choose those is this episode, I'm doing myself, I made the choice, but from here on out, you guys vote down below. Just leave a comment for the one you want to see next, and whichever one is most upvoted is the build I'll do afterwards. Rule number 3 is I am not aiming for something that's most optimal, most powerful. I'm looking for something deep, fun, a character that has motivations, is interesting, one that I would want to play at my own table. Each of these builds needs to hit that note for me. And the final rule is I'm going to be doing this raw. Rules as written, what the player handbook says. To the best of my knowledge, I'm sure I'll make some mistakes along the way. You guys are really great at letting me know the mistakes I make, so please continue doing that. Alright, without further ado, I bring to you the first of the deep builds. This is Aric Valdorian, the Final Shield. Aric Valdorian was born marked by the divine. His skin faintly radiant, a celestial sigil upon his shoulder. The people called him a blessing. The local lord called him an opportunity. From the moment he could stand, he was groomed for war. Not as a soldier, but as a symbol. A golden warrior the men could rally behind. Conscripted into the army, raised above the rank and file, given command before he had the scars to earn it. They dressed him in the finest armor, placed him at the head of formations, and sent him into battle as if his presence alone would turn the tide. Then came the battle that shattered the illusion. His unit was ordered to hold the line, fortified, armored, prepared. Heavy plate and tower shields should have been enough. They weren't. The enemy unleashed something raw and brutal, an ogre, a beast of muscle and hate, wielding a tree trunk as a club. Aric's men stood their ground. The monster broke them like twigs. Shields splintered, breastplates crumpled, bodies flew, and Aric, he survived. Barely. When he woke, half buried beneath corpses and shattered metal, something inside him had changed. He no longer believed in the armor he wore, the titles he held, or the lords who had sent him to die. If still alone could not protect him, he would find something that could. He sought out arcane knowledge, not to wield destruction, but to become undestroyable, to ensure that the next time an unstoppable force came crashing down, he would be the one left standing. Now he wanders, not for glory, not for duty, but for knowledge. The kind of knowledge that keeps a man alive when everything else fails. He is the final shield. Now we have Aric's story, let's make the build. Now if I were to name this build outside of Aric the Final Shield, this would be called the Eldritch Wall. This is an Eldritch Knight build from level 1 all the way up to 20, so let's break it down. As you could probably tell from the background, we're taking the soldier background. By taking the soldier background, we get Savage Attacker. Now that's an odd thing for a build that's going to be so focused on defense, but that's just it. We invest so much in defense that I want to pick up some offensive capabilities here and there. This is an opportunity to do that. We're also going to make a lot of reaction attacks, and because Savage Attacker is once per turn, we can do it on our reaction attack, so we're going to be doubling up on its advantages all the time. So really nice to pick up here. As the story suggested, we're going to be in Aasimar. Aasimar is going to give us some awesome things. We get a little bit of healing, we get the amazing dark vision, but most importantly, at level 3, we're going to get some new forms. The two that are important to us are Heavenly Wings and Inner Radiance. Now, when we have this form on, we're going to do a bit of extra damage, which again is awesome. We're really looking for any bit of extra damage we can throw onto this build, and the Inner Radiance gives us that little bit of extra damage and an AoE damage. Now, it hurts our allies, so they might not want to be next to us, but we're going to be really good at keeping our enemies next to us, so that might stand out quite nicely. But the one I expect we're going to be using more often is Heavenly Wings. That mobility, the ability to fly, is going to be massive, and we're going to spec ourselves to be able to take aerial combat quite well. So we'll jump more into that later. Aasimar has a really cool feeling with this build. Another rule I didn't mention, I'm going to be using standard array on every single build. So I went with my 15 on strength, We also have a +2 from Soldier there. I will put my 13 in Constitution with the +1 from Soldier, so that's 14. As for our Dexterity, that's our dump stat. I put 8 into Dexterity. For our Intelligence, that's 14. We don't want it to be terrible, but we also don't need it to be great. It is our casting feature, but we're really not going to take spells that really rely on it, so I like it here. Wisdom, 12. This character seems pretty wise to me, and we want our saves to be pretty good. Charisma, basic 10. As for our skills with this build, this character cares a lot about their safety. Perception and insight both make sense to me because they're always aware of their surroundings. They care about people who are telling them things. They've been lied to in the past. They know the result of it, so they care about being able to read people, and they are a soldier trained on a battlefield. They can read the situation of a battlefield. They can see what's dangerous. Perception and insight. Fighting style. Defense fighting style. That +1 AC is going to be really, really good with this build. Now we're taking heavy armor, so that means shield, heavy armor, +1 AC. So once we get plate, we're looking at 21 AC fairly naturally. That's a solid amount of AC, and it's just the beginning. And we get second wind for a little bit of healing, increasing that tankiness in between combats. Weapon mastery number 1, I'm taking spear. It's gonna give us sap. Whenever we hit someone with sap, they're going to have disadvantage on their next attack roll. Now that's nice because often they may be attacking us, so that's going to naturally increase our tankiness as well as our teams, and if we're lucky, we might be able to get them to use an attack and then somehow proc another attack from us, so their next attack is also at disadvantage. I doubt that'll happen often, but it is some synergy. I'm also going to be taking Javelin and Trident. Javelin is going to be our main ranged weapon, and it's going to be nice just to slow enemies down. Trident is going to be something that we can either use to bring down enemies from the sky, or if we're flying up in the sky ourselves, we can use it as our melee weapon and potentially knock our enemies out of the air. Gives us this aerial combat type setup that is pretty cool. Trident plus flying lets you do some neat things. Level 2, we're gonna get Action Search. For us, it's likely just going to mean more attacks unless we need to do something very specific like dash to get across to somewhere. Overall, just more damage output. We also get Tactical Mind. This allows us to use our second wind feature to do more skill-based things, which is pretty neat. Something we're not gonna really focus on, but is there if we ever need it. All right, enough with our humble beginnings. At this point, we've studied enough, we've learned some magic. So let's talk about becoming an Eldritch Knight. First part of this is a small part. It's War Bond. War Bond lets us bond to 2 weapons. With a bonus action, we can basically just summon them in our hand. It allows us to switch weapons very regularly or pull back thrown weapons. I like the idea of using it on the Trident because I don't like the concept of carrying 15 different Tridents on my back. So 1 Trident, bunch of Javelins, and then my Spear. That works for me. I would like the Spear as my second one. The Javelins, we can lose them. Who cares? We'll just go buy some more. But yeah, Spear and Trident. Honestly, not the biggest deal. Where this does shine is if you get cool weapons. I mean, if you're lucky, and I mean really lucky, a DM can give you a weapon that it makes sense to let go of. And I've given out an example of a weapon that when you let go of it, it becomes an immovable rod. Unless the person who is attuned to it is holding it or has it sheathed, it's an immovable rod. That's dope on this character because you can drop it, you know, a cart runs into it, explodes or whatever, then you can transport it back to yourself. Really badass. As a DM, I would say if you have an Eldritch Knight, give them a cool weapon like that. All right, I'm gonna tell you about the most important cantrip from here till forever. It's Blade Ward. Blade Ward doesn't make sense for most characters. For this character, it's incredible. Every single attack against us, they have to minus a d4 from their to hit roll. All right, so that's the equivalent of having an extra 2.5 AC. So we're going from eventually 21 AC to 23.5 AC. It's concentration, but the thing is we're not gonna be taking very many concentration spells, so we can be using this all the time. Now, if I'm going into a situation, I'm gonna be casting Blade Ward all the time. Now, if I'm getting ambushed, I might have to use the first round of combat to set this up, or I might choose not to. But if I'm walking through a frickin' cave, I might be using this unless stealth is absolutely necessary. We're in heavy armor, we're not good at stealth anyways. If there's any situation where we think we might be attacked, I'm gonna start casting Blade Ward on myself. That way when we get into combat, we can just get to stabbing people. As for our first level spells, I have a couple I really like. I really like Find Familiar. It's a ritual spell. It's super flexible. We can use it all the time. I would just keep it to the basics, get the owl, it's incredible, and just use it. Another one I really like is Jump. Jump is going to increase either our or our team's mobility significantly. And I really like the idea that we're not always flying around. Sometimes it's nice just to be able to leap somewhere or let an ally do it. It just increases our mobility a significant amount. Another one is Fog Cloud. Fog Cloud is a concentration spell, but boy is it a workhorse of a concentration spell. Honestly, I've sung its praises before, I'll sing them forever. Fog Cloud is incredible. Has so much utility, it can end fights, it can just nerf the crap out of a ranged blockade, and a million other things. It can, if you are all at disadvantage and your enemies are all at advantage, Fog Cloud neutralizes all of that. It's great. Now, you might be saying, why aren't you taking Shield? Because Shield requires somatic components, so I can't do it because I have a Shield and Spear in hand. I have to let go of the Spear at the end of my turn in order to use Shield, but then I can't do any of the things I'm going to eventually want to be doing, like opportunity attacks or reaction attacks. More on that later. But yeah, so Shield doesn't actually work very well with this build, unfortunately. At level 4, we get a new weapon mastery. I'm not really going to be doing anything else. Take whatever you want. Maybe something like a dart, so you can hit an enemy and have advantage moving in. That's an idea. More importantly, we're going to be picking up a feat here. We're picking up Sentinel. Now, it's one thing to be really freaking hard to kill. It's another thing to not be able to escape the person who's really freaking hard to kill. Think about an enemy who, like a Minotaur, who just wants to freaking run up to you and crush you. And it can't because it's stuck by this impenetrable wall. And every time it tries to run over and kill the squishy wizard, it can't. It keeps getting stuck there and has to swing at the impenetrable wall again. That's what Sentinel does for us. It also gives us another opportunity attack that if someone's standing next to us and they attack them, we hit them. And what's kind of nice about this is, all right, we've hit this Minotaur, it attacks someone next to us, and it managed to hit them despite being at disadvantage. Well, we get to hit them with our spear, and now their next attack also has disadvantage. That's kind of the synergy between Sap and Sentinel. I like it here. Level 5, we're picking up extra attack, and we're going to get Tactical Shift. Whenever you use Second Wind, you also get to use half your movement. So it's a mobility perk, and it gives us a much better reason to use Second Wind in combat if we ever need that extra boost in mobility, and we don't want to spend an action surge on something like Dash. Level 6, we're getting another ASI. I'm going to be taking Polearm Master here. Polearm Master is going to allow us to make an attack and then a bonus action attack, and a new reaction attack when an enemy runs towards us, we can reaction attack them, which has great synergy with Sap, because as we get approached, hey, you just got poked, now you have disadvantage on attacking us because you clearly were going to. Note, Sentinel and Polearm Master don't work together the way they used to. We can't use Polearm Master because it's not a reaction attack anymore, it's just an attack that uses a reaction. Two different things. Polearm Master is great for our damage output and for spreading those saps around. Alright, level 7 we get War Magic. War Magic's going to allow us to replace one of our attacks with a cantrip. That's kind of interesting because we don't really use cantrips at all for damage. In fact, I took the one that I care about, which is Blade Ward. The rest are completely flexible. I went with utility cantrips like Message or Prestidigitation. Now, what's really nice about this is we can replace one of our attacks with casting Blade Ward, which is pretty sick because now if we end up getting into combat, we can attack, Blade Ward ourselves, attack, hit him with our spear, bonus action, hit him with the butt of our spear. That's pretty awesome. So we're always going to have that bonus AC now. That's sick. Level 8, I'm picking up another ASI. This is what's really cool about fighters, is you get so many ASIs, you can take multiple feats in one stat to get to 20 instead of taking an ASI and one feat. So we took 3 feats. This one's going to be Mage Slayer. Mage Slayer is going to get us to that 20 strength, but it's also going to give us basically a legendary resistance to a mental save once per short rest, which is incredible. We're already great at taking attacks. This really helps us at defending against mental magics. On top of that, it lets us break people's concentration super well, and that to me is more the secondary effect with this build. Here we can talk about second level spells. My old favorite second level spell was Blur, but Blur takes your concentration and it does nearly the same thing, just better, as Blade Ward. So because we have Blade Ward up anyways, it's like Blur got worse even though it's still as good as ever. If you guys don't know, the higher your AC is, the better Blur is, and we're incredible at having a great AC. So instead, what I'm going to do is take Mirror Image. Mirror Image got a buff. I don't know the math, but it seems like a buff to me. It's non-concentration plus we have Blade Ward on top of it, It's ridiculous. It's really, really freaking ridiculously hard to hit us once we have mirror image up, as well as Blade Ward. It's crazy. Misty Step is great for mobility. I want it here, and pretty soon I'm going to be picking up Phantasmal Force. I'll talk about that here in a second. Level 9, we're going to get Tactical Master. This lets us replace our sap with something like push or slow. I love that for when you can push someone and it's really, really relevant. You don't always want to sap someone. Often you're going to hit them, sap them, hit them again. Well, now you get to do something different. Slow is great for keeping them closer to you so they're easier to run down. Kind of redundant with Sentinel, but Sentinel won't always hit. But push stands out to me as the one that makes the most sense. You can kind of crowd control or use the terrain to your advantage. You also get Indomitable, which is damn near a legendary resistance. It's freaking incredible. Indomitable is going to be amazing for us. It's going to further enhance our saves. One of our weaknesses up to this point, and honestly still a pretty big weakness, is dexterity saves. You know, even though we are all about being a wall, we won't save our dexterity saves often. We haven't invested a ton into our HP, so that kind of is our niche weakness. So what we want to watch out for that. Indomitable might be really great for saving our butts in those situations where we're facing someone who really focuses on those dex saves. Level 10, we're going to get Weapon Mastery. Again, I don't really care. Take whatever you want. But we're also going to get Eldritch Strike. When we hit someone with a weapon until the end of our next turn, when we cast a spell on them that has a save, they make that save at disadvantage. That's why I took Phantasmal Force. I wouldn't take it until about now, because I want at least one spell that can take advantage of this feature. The reason I chose Phantasmal Force is because it targets intelligence saves, which are already pretty weak, plus they're going to have disadvantage, and so we should be pretty dang reliable with Phantasmal Force. Still a very questionable spell, and how your DM runs it is going to give your mileage a lot of variety, but you could take some different spells if you felt more confident in those. Something like Levitate or Hold Person comes to mind. Or even Sleep. Sleep now is actually pretty good, so a first level spell might be able to do the job. And then at level 11, we're going to pick up 2 extra attacks, and that's going to give us those 2 extra attacks to go around smacking people, spreading sap around. Moving forward, you're going to keep doing the same stuff. You can take more feats to start boosting up Constitution. I really don't feel like you need to focus too much on ASIs. At level 15, we pick up Arcane Charge. This gives us more mobility via teleportation. Whenever we take Action Surge, we get a teleport 30 feet. More teleportation is never bad. Even though we have Misty Step, this is just going to be solid despite that. Our Capstone for Eldritch Knight is going to be Improved War Magic. We can replace 2 of our attacks with a 1st or 2nd level spell. I'm definitely eyeballing Mirror Image for this. You can use 1 attack to set up Blade Ward if you need to, and then you can use 2 attacks to set up your Mirror Image, and then your setup's completely done. You can get to smacking. And once we get 4 attacks, that becomes even better because we still get the attack off and then bonus action attack. So we're getting 2 spells and 2 attacks in our first turn, and then from there, we're going to be getting 5 attacks. Really stinking good. Even offensively speaking, that's still pretty decent, and our defense remains fantastic. Alright, kind of a dumb decision for my epic boon choice, but I would do Boon of Immortality. This character's whole goal, his whole career, was to survive, and I think this would be an opportunity to somehow claim immortality and never die, and that seems like a cool ending. It's more of a story beat than it is going to be anything mechanical, which I think is a cool way to end this character's career. Of course, we're going to hit level 20, get our 4 attacks, and be happy campers from there. And that's Aric Valdorian, the final shield. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really enjoyed creating this. And don't forget to leave the comments of which subclasses you want me to do a video like this for next. Let me know in the comments down below, and if somebody already said the one you want, make sure to upvote it, because how I'm going to choose is whatever's most upvoted. While you're down there, why don't you let us know how you would build your Eldritch Knight, and what kind of story would you have behind it? And you might as well hit that subscribe button while you're at it. Alright my friends, until next time,